to 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, dollar yen has trapped every breakout trader that wants to trade this breakout on the 1 hour chart. So when I left off last night, I cashed out here because I knew I had to get out in the seller's window, and sure enough, the sellers came in. We go sideways. The 3 hour hedge bots come in. Trend line finally breaks, and kaboosh. Now, what I should have done is got in it at the market hedges here, like I'm from Canada, at the top of this channel. Like it's a perfect channel. A real drifty uptrend. But when we came to this climax moment, which was the stop hunt on the 4 hour chart, going back maybe 7 bars. So the bar count back would matter, I suppose, to me in the sense of how many bars is the vacuum. So if I say it's 1, 2, 3, I'm not going to count these down here because they're gone. 1, 2, 3. I guess I could count them as far as time going back. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But look how this 25 pip handle was the tipping window. We all knew that that was the trap for the daily people, because that's the 1 hour, that's a 4 hour chart. We knew that people had trend lines. They were banking on this. If you want to make the argument that, well, it is true that the people that thought that was going to hold that trend line got scorched, but the people that were aware of the fact that you were tipping into this seller's window, heavy duty seller's window, and a perfect fill guaranteed there in back testing. Sells only work in back testing. You also don't know, even if that filled, whether your spread got wide for a millisecond and stopped you out of a 19 pip stop because the 20 pip was too wide. So these kind of things to consider in all the tickets you're running and all this and all that. And then once you get used to absorbing price like you just become your own bank. You got a bunch of violence coming in. So I was able to recover the account. I was down about 700, and then I was up 600 because what I did was when we made this bounce, I had the limits in that lasted 12 hours, and I had those cycle deep ones that I said, these are 12 hours, 25 pips apart. Okay, those filled. And if I had launched instead of a 3K, had put in a 29K, you can only see the amount of like money made from just dumb trades if there's enough money in the account. So without blowing up the account, right? So I'm trying to get the account to $3,000, and of course, had we loaded up the moment I sold last night, which I knew I had to get out there, but I don't usually sell, but I know that's my exit. Now all of the micro trades, all these, like I'm making 30 cents, I'm making $1.30, I'm making $1.40, I'm losing $1.30, you know, all that stuff on one instrument. It can be done because you're only playing one instrument. So it's like it's a guitar with like 48 frets instead of 24. Yeah, you get 48. You know, people can trade. It's a rhythm method. The market's got a rhythm to it. And so there was this big giant bounce today in the dollar yen. You can't see it. It's hidden inside this 4 hour chart. So when we came down in one moment here today, we had this giant ricochet right here. And it comes up and actually takes out, and this is the classic, what people consider to be, unfortunately I hit stop last night. And I don't know how to splice videos together in this thing, and it's just not worth it. So last night I went up to hit pause, or when I went to hit the pen, and it just stopped. But here's the thing. if you're trading one instrument like this and you're dialed in to try to make 25, 50, 70 pips, you would have made a clean 70 pips out of that gate on the 4-hour. Amazing. An amazing exit on that 4-hour chart. Just look at that thing. Wow. We come up here and and there's this kind of like this burst here, but just running the trailing sell stops on that. Just a dumb strategy like that is so powerful. I mean, why ruin it? Why ruin it with all those indicators? Look, I'm trying to find my zoom key. So here's max zoom available on MT4. That's why I made the fatter wicks, and I don't know if I had the fat wicks on this one, but non-directional candles make you focus on the body, and you got kind of a double top here, But to me, the crucial place to get the best prices in the world was here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is like 7, and then look at this last little stop on here. And here was the premium entry, was to come in on a hedge. So, what did you miss? What have you missed so far this week? Well, you could have put on a hedge coming out of the gate into the session of the week and just done a dumb shit fucking hedge. Why is that not a good trade? This doesn't always happen, but it is a classic Sunday Net Open where it's throttled down. So I bought in at the market here. Now, I should have gone into a serious hedge here. I did scalp at least 20 pips off of that. And we came to here, so it's a structural issue. Then, boom. I don't know why these guys are bothering with the daily chart. The 4-hour charts are available. This is the 159 chart. 1 p.m., 1 a.m. stuff. And so if these guys are all talking about, well, this is the rule, you got to have this. All you got to do is check it every 4 hours. So just take naps. Get in Asia. Take a nap, wake up at 4 a.m. You're coming into the 5. Yeah, I know you can't install the updates. So, Windows, jeez, just leave me alone. Give me 3.1. So this hedging thing, now I can put the hedge on right now. Boom, we just closed out. It's 9 o'clock. So you see that candle there? This 4-hour chart just updated. It's the 195 chart. So you can put on a trade at 9 o'clock. Put on 1 a.m., 1 p.m. You have only 6 chances to blow up your account or to get into a bad trade. Within those 6 bars, for the love of Pete, just put on, when the market's quiet, put on a goober hedge and make a little bit of money. And maybe even pick the direction. But put a cluster of like a 10K of singles above or below, and just, of course it's like juggling 5 balls, but this is how you can be a scalper and a swing trader all at once, because why can't you trade against your own trade? If you're in a swing, why can't you go into a hedge and offset that? Why is everybody so monolithic? Like, I'm building this robot. Really, one robot? Robots suck. You need a team of those fucks. Are you kidding me? So that's another big fallacy. That if you do have robots, and this Yang guy, are you kidding me? It's more work to have that, because when that shit goes haywire, forget about it. Then it's a real mess. So we could put a hedge on here, but I'm seriously buying. But I could put the hedge on to prove to myself that if it's really going up, then why would I be afraid to put the hedge on? So the fear of getting whipsawed in a hedge strategy, but you're just going to do like a couple hedges and a couple swings and a couple at the market. Okay, it's down. Like here was down 4 hours. Well, boom, I'm buying that. But there was a dead cat bounce in here that really paid quite a bit of money today. And it's funny because to babysit this entry, I think would have scared the shit out of anybody to sell at the market, as the market is slamming back into this price that shows up. If you think about this price, if you were watching this happen on the 1 hour, I don't know a lot of people that would be pulling the sell trigger, and maybe they would, and maybe they'd have slippage, but if you had an array of tickets staggered in here, at least starting here, to cash out or to sell. It's funny because I was actually long because I had all those limits that got filled, and when that spiked up, and look how, if it was coming up on that, could you have actually pulled the trigger and it may have only spent 40 seconds at that price? You cannot tell by looking at that whether it spent 40 seconds, but this spent 4 hours. This 8 hours of nothing. You should be putting on dumb shit hedges with nice giant ratios. You're making 70 pips. You could have still got in here and just almost justified it. This is the 4 hour chart. I'm sorry, it's a 1 hour chart. So, same thing. It's just, this is going to be, the spread's against you on this chart. Not too bad. Under a pip with commissions. So here it's 3 hours. Sorry, 3 hours, but it's the same story. Like, okay, this obviously, if you put the hedge on here, you're up in the trade right now, or you're up on the one that you put on at this doji. If you only enter on dojis, in a non-directional sense, you got filled long depending on how far away your buy stops are from current price. That's another consideration. If you're always running them 2 to 3 to 4 pips away, maybe you want to just buy one at the market and just admit that you want to get in right now. Like if you're putting it 2 pips away, it's like, oh, okay. Now I can see the people that are saying 10 pips away, but if you're going to do 10 pips away, you better put a 50 pip stop, and you better just let it last 12 hours, because at that point you're saying, I just want to get in something. You're forcing the trade. If you say, I'm going to buy 3 pips above, unless the market's screaming down, it just never looks back. And that is totally possible. And in that case, you want to get rid of that 12-hour script, because what if the market comes slamming back? And just like it did here, it tips into the window of that bar. You don't want to be trapped in that. That's a trade you didn't plan on, as they say. Like, you don't want a pending buy limit that's hanging out here like this. And you wouldn't have dropped one there anyways, because the ATR per bar, the last ATR, the last fucking bar, the last hour is too violent. But buy stops here that better last 15 minutes, right? And then they get picked up. But you don't want a pending that's 4 hours out here. You don't want to be dropping that. So there's a time and a place for everything. When the market's screaming down or screaming up, you can literally just go buy stop, buy stop, buy stop, buy stop, which is a hell of a lot better than buying at the market, because what you're counting on then is the crush is so harsh that if it does reverse, it will pick you up in here and you get a dead cat bounce. Or there's actually, I'm sure, places in here where, like, this was a peppy, this was the peppy move, right? Buy stops are trailing on the 15 and then whoosh. Okay, now, you could have also every hour pulled the trigger. So you buy 1, 2, 3 positions at the market against that price pulse down. You could call it a trend. I wouldn't call it a trend, because the trend typically is a larger time frame than just looking back 1.5 days is all I'm looking back. And this is the end of the day, and here's Asia, and here's the last stop hunt. This is a round number. We could have bought here. We could buy because it's down at the market, which I did. And I'm going to continue to buy. I just love buying. And I put limits in real shallow here, but I want to get into at least $700 of margin. I'm running around 5 pips stops now, 7 pips, 8. I'm just going to start. Going to go with this. I think we're going to rally at least 5 pips. I'm not going to get all greedy here, so 7 pips. And I'm going to trade real big and just keep hammering the button there. I want to get to $700 of margin. So I'm just plugging away here. Yeah, I'm just on the tablet. I just can't resist. It's just too easy to just double click. And I got to get a bigger tablet, but then it's going to weigh more, and then it's going to be another drama. But I think it'd be easier if I had another tablet, and then I could say, oh, let me go trade the British pound there and put in 50 pip stops. Because the British pound is so erratic, and the spread can get really bad in Asia. And if the news comes out, or somebody has a Brexit, comment or tweets or something, but that volatility, if you're doing non-directional breakout trading, you wake up with money in the account and you're like, what the fuck? That's crazy. Like, I'm just getting in because it's quiet, and I'm just like, I don't know. I'm just gonna trade the classic, true no nonsense trading. Like, just put the fucking trade on. It's hard to accept that the markets are a little bit rough and noisy and edgy and chaotic, and the tendencies want to smooth them out with some pretty candles and pretty indicators and all that stuff. And I had the Forex dashboard once, and the cool thing about it was an alarm. I'd set the moving averages crossovers to like 1 crosses to 2, so when the volatility kicked up, I had it as a volatility alarm till I didn't hear it anymore, just like a train, and I'm just like, it's not working. If you could have something, now that'd be worth selling. Like I've talked about this before, the MT4 personalized platform, where you put a trade on, and it's like, fuck yeah, I'm buying that. Like just hilarious fucking samples connected to each ticket, especially if it's got a 100 pip stop. Like, well, hey fella, you got a 100 pip stop on that. It would be very comical. I mean, it'd be funny for people that don't even trade. Or like, that's a pretty tight stop, don't you think? And you'd have like, or you just call out the stop. You also could have it, like I said, this is kind of a lot of work, but if you like to buy at round numbers, you could just have an alarm that's saying, you're within 10 pips of a round number, you're near the 10-yard line. And maybe you're going to like to look at the chart. I guess you don't want that to ever just kind of distort your view of what that number should even represent as an entry or an exit. So maybe you just want to, like my case, I would say, I want to see the chart. I want to see that 4-hour and daily, and I'm like, oh yeah, we could definitely keep plunging into the hole that I see going back 10 days on the daily. But in the 4-hour world, if we're ranging, why can't I just put on a hedge in Asia and go, I don't know. You could keep tanking, and then I'm going to get filled. Now, the trick is to wait at least a half hour between each hedge launch, and especially if you're going to do it at the market. No sense in pulling the trigger 8 times if you wrote a 1K to buy, 1K to sell, symmetrical stops. Say you've got a 5 pip stop or 8 pip stop, and you're looking to make, make a Fibonacci. You're looking to make 13 pips. You're risking 5 pips to make 8 pips. You're risking 5 to make 13, 5 to make 21, 5 to make 34, and you also have to be aware of the fact that if you're trading an instrument that has a wide spread and you decide to get in on a stop entry, hedge entry, okay, now that's, well, you want to combine that with, babe, you press the button and it gets in a shallow limit that's a buy limit with a tight stop, a market with a tight stop, and a stop entry confirmation. They're all three working against each other, but the ratios are kind of real good. Like the market order has the widest stop and the widest take profit. The other ones are like, okay, those are just little trollers in there. And of course, every time you hit the trigger, you're guaranteed to fill in the market orders, but the other 4K are pending, 2 above, 2 below, sell stops below, sell limits above, but they're gauged to make profit in the direction down where the other ones are up. So it's like a butterfly or a straddle. Or do you want to have that dedicated market order? So I just did a market, and I think I'm going to throw in a stop. Now this is how I think is the lowest risk, highest effort way to trade is to put in one case and say, oh, they just buy one at the market here and just, okay. It's just like you're making a cake, but you're making a cake for 300 people. You might get into a 300K, getting in little increments like that. And this way you can ride a position with stops, and you, instead of running a trailing stop, since you're hedging maybe 20% of the time, or maybe even 50 to 100%, if the market gives you 3 dojis in a row, why turn them down? You just keep locking in a goddamn stupid hedge. And when it breaks out, and you're like, holy shit. Now, you don't have to have limits around that. You could, but that takes on another kind of like a look forward of complexity into the market and saying, well, tomorrow we could be up 70 pips or down 70 pips from where we're at right now. That is totally possible. There has to be no rhyme or reason. If you think that Trump can affect the market, then he can affect it up and down. And the people that are complaining about the liquidity discount window that the banks are going for, yeah, because they fucked up. They got in over their head in the market. And do you really think, honestly, when you go to the hospital and they cut off the wrong leg, you think these bankers and these financiers know what the fuck they're doing? How do you explain 2008? Well, the government did tie their hands and force them to do extreme derivatives to escape the burden of taxes. In other words, the whole thing is a structure set up that's fragile because of that. It's trying to, I guess when they built the railroads, that's when they came up with the depreciation. So they're trying to squeeze every ounce of it out. And these lughead banks that have like really it seems like no kind of discipline, you know. So that seems like what's kind of the setup. People are saying the end of the world's coming, kind of thing. But I don't know. I'm just trying to come up with trade plans instead of strategy and systems. I mean, the strategy is that you're going to buy low, sell high, and if you didn't buy, you could still sell high and ride it down. Or you could put on the hedge. Now, you could have also pulled the trigger on a hedge that, you know, if you're sitting there and the market's going spastic and you're like, holy shit, we're in the sell window, you have no other tools available to you. It's just a great way to say you're a hedge fund trader, you know. So that's why they trade hedges. So maybe that answers the guy he asked a year ago. Why would somebody put on a hedge? And you really have to ask yourself, what are you thinking? Like, pick a sex, dude. Like, you with a girl or a guy. Nobody wants to be on the fence, and all the trend traders would say you're out of your fucking mind. At least the reversal traders are like, oh yeah, we understand reversals and swing trading, but hedging? And of course, you could back test it, but like I said, you got to build 10 of these things. You're going to back test one that's going to be so sweet, but then you got to build another one that has a fixed exit. Hard exit. You can't have something that's like, oh, I looked at the ATR, adjusted the stop. Maybe you could, but you're going to just crush your computer. Besides, you can't come in and create a whole new array of what you know is exactly running. And, because if the thing's going to try to size it, I guess it could. It could say, well, I'm going to put on a 28K because we're in a very tight area. And this is going to be very explosive because we have not moved out of a very tight area in the past 20 periods. It's like the tightest of tightest. It's a Bollinger Band compression. The only time Bollinger Band, so this is like a Bollinger Band strategy. You're waiting for the Bollinger Bands to get super tight, but you're running Bollinger Bands of 5. You're really just going, okay, what is the fucking range? Like, it's basically put your Bollinger Bands at setting up 2. The lagginess of the Bollinger Band, but when the Bollinger Bands come together and compress, and I would ignore the moving average in the Bollinger Band, just look at that cone that's about to explode. And it's going to burst out of there, and then there's going to be the fulfillment either direction. And once it gets too dangerous, like people step aside, or it's just flushed a giant price area. And, unless the rest of the world's blowing up, or as that little girl said, it's on fire. Well, Jesus, it's going to calm down. Everything's going to calm down here. Here we go. So I'm going to buy more at the market. So I'm scalping this right now. Okay, it's just before the bottom of the hour. We got 22 minutes. I'm just going to buy it's no tomorrow. I'm going to try to get $700 in margin going now. But yeah, I think it is very difficult because you would feel like kind of brokenhearted here in the sense on this chart if you would have said, damn it, I was standing right there and I was so afraid to pull the trigger because this zoomed up so hard. I was like, holy shit. So if you've never traded Forex and you've never been in a really big position, I mean, that's in a standard lot, that's $300 move in the blink of an eye. I mean, if I go to the 5, see if I can find this on the 5-minute chart. Well, here's a perfectly good, the spread could have got wide there. I don't know if I trust that. We really can't see the history of that here, so. But here you go. There you go. So here's a head and shoulders on the 5 with a line chart. Now, are you honestly going to tell me, and some people would because they do trade the 5-minute chart. There are very few people that are going to say, well, I drew the trend line just like you said. And so what happened here was, and they explain it to you just like this, and we can all hindsight this. Like I said, don't be afraid to experiment with the hindsight is a good way to say, well, would I have taken that trade? We break the trend line, we come back, and we retest it. I load the wagon. I know trend lines don't work, but in this instance it did work, so I'm going to use the exception that proves the rule. Pale green, maybe not the best selection. Maybe I should have picked blue, but people will make the argument. And the 15, it's actually, the nice thing about the line chart, I can go between the 5 and the 15, and it stays intact. This is a whole nother style of trading. So you could trade like this also. You could be like, well, dude, let me explain it to you. I babysit this fucker with my hand on the trigger. I'm locked and loaded like Trump, ready to fucking take these towel heads out. And I'm like, dude, we are selling here. I'm also going to trade. I'm going to put on a hedge right now. I got 15 minutes to get that hedge on. Or just, hopefully I sold this baby rally. I sell at the market every 15-minute rally. 2 sells. Why am I selling? Because it's coming up into the trend line I just drew. Draw it arbitrarily, doesn't matter. Did I come in here and say, well, what I really did was, let me show you how exacting it is. And it's like the Fibonacci people. Let me show you how magical this is. I could say, look, dude, broke out, pulled back. Look at, bought that pullback there. See that shit? 15 minutes, boom. Comes up into this kind of lonely wick here. It's very subtle. Just comes up into there. Tink. Pink. Probably stop some guy out that sold here. Let me guess this would happen to retail trader Joe. He sold here at the trend line. And he goes, I'm going to put a stop here just to be certain I'll never touch it. Oh, gee, how'd that work out? Not too good. But maybe subconsciously you knew. Huh. What if I'm the last guy to sell it? I'm thinking it's going to go like this and it's going to be a perfect channel. We've seen them. I could have also drawn the trend line here really tight. And said, oh, it broke out, so I bought here. Or I could have said I sold there. Or I could say, no, I'm a horizontal structure guy, and what I do is I wait for a bottom to become a top. Didn't really happen here. Kind of failed here. Or I could say, you know what? I think that I don't have the nerves for the 15. I'm going to go the half hour. Trend line holds up on the half hour now also. Pretty good. Beauty of the trend line and close. It's the true trend. Holds up on all time frames. Here you just see very shallow kind of hump there. Then kablamo, and this is the thing that's the beauty of it, is you ask yourself, I wonder if this price pulse here, now this is when people do the measured move. So you cut this, so that's an hour and a half, that's 2 hours, it's 4 bars, a half hour chart. You take off the ray there, oh Jesus. I'm going to turn off the extension, it's called the ray. So I can build this, so you just hold down the control key. Drag that over and copy it. So people say, well, see, it's that, and that's what I learned from the RSI guy, Andrew Cardwell, that you're taking this and you get this parallelogram thing. You're going to copy that part over, hang it off the lowest close within those two lines. Also, it's giving you the price pulse kind of timing. So we should be at this price by then. We get there a little late, but we make it to that price, so to speak. But you can't just run in and say, is that going to happen here too? And you hang your thing off of here. And you can't, you're kind of hanging off this doji, and there's no doji here. And, these patterns do exist. These kind of like it pauses. This is the pause, and then boosh. It's like the 1-2 punch. It's just kind of this continuation pattern, but a symmetrical one. Symmetrical continuation pattern. If you zoom out one level, it just takes one level to zoom out to just go, oh Jesus. Now what? So here's what it looks like here. You're assuming that this, if you find the highest close in here and you hang this off, that should be your target. Right? So you can do that all day long in these charts, but you have to make the assumption that this pullback here to this top is the launching pad, just like this pullback. The half-hour chart, you got to wait for this thing to walk all the way down, but you could be running buy stops and get picked up in this, and hopefully cash out of something there. Once again, run the defensive confirmation buy stop entry, or every half hour it's down, pull the trigger, buy. Because if you let the buy stop stack up and linger, yes, you're going to add to a winner, but you're getting in late. If these last 2 hours, sure, it's okay, but now you're oversized to the upside and the party's over. Whereas No Nonsense would say, the bankers, like, they know the jig's up here, so, like, they trapped all the retail guys. But, see, the thing is buying down here for that cycle plunge, I made quite a bit of money here, but had I got in on the 4-hour breakout, okay, the 4-hour chart rules, and I would just go, most brokers are running this 159 chart, but you could have another broker that's running 2 hours away from that, and then you have a synthetic kind of 2-hour entry window if you wanted to. And that would be the idea of having other brokers, that their 4-hour chart is on the sevens, 7-11, 3, 7-11, 3. And so you're offset by 2, and you've covered basically a smooth linear coverage of those two things. Just find a broker, and then you can find one in a certain country. And even if you don't have an account there, just run the demo and just look at the 4-hour chart. MT5 gets, you can get lost in MT5 with all those time frames. You could also do the 6 hour MT5 and just say, oh, I'm going to religiously pull the trigger on the chart that I don't have the tickets actually on. So that's a little different feeling in a sense, because if you did a journal of your arrows that drop on the screen proving that you did the trade, you know, you don't get that effect because you're looking at the 8 hour chart or the 12-hour chart, which would be, 12-hour chart would be kind of cool because, you know, at least you're twice as good as any no-nonsense guy. You're twice as much opportunity. I say a doji on the 12-hour, pretty profound. I'm assuming it's going to be 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. But I don't know what MT5. And of course, you could get some, if you wanted to get ridiculous, you get another MT5 where the 12-hour chart starts 6 hours away from the other one. And you're like, oh, okay. Overlapping 6 hours. And see, it's a rabbit hole. I've been down it. I'm just saying, like, I'm just trying to save people the torture of it all. Because I've said, oh, what if I did this? And then I thought, you know, I've only got 2 eyeballs. I've only got one instrument up at the time, so the dollar yen. I can just trade the dollar yen all week, but I'd have to build kind of the trade plan around it because it's pretty violent, actually. I mean, these breakouts here, had I put on the right, now this is all about custom stops fitting that one instrument, because on the this system here, or this way of trading I'm doing, on the Australian dollar, forget about it. We'd have to be trading so heavy and so tight, like, I don't even know if it's worth it in a sense. The spreads aren't that great on the Australian dollar. Let's face it, it's Australia. But this yen, these people are nuts. I mean, it's like negative interest rates there, I think. Or something. I just looked at the rates around the world, and I'm like, I think it's either Switzerland or Japan. They're like negative maybe 10 in Japan. I mean, let's face it, the girls are hot, so maybe that's, like I said, that's my theory. My fundamental theory is that the girls are always hot over there, and so their currency, I wonder if North Korea is going to have a currency. Trump should run, I want to hear Trump come out and say he's going to get rid of Frank Dodd, or Dodd-Frank. He's going to bring in the Russians back, and he's going to bring the, everybody's in. Even the Taliban currency. Taliban has their own version of a cryptocurrency. Looks like they trapped me here on the 30-minute chart. I'm not happy about that. Look at that. Sellers came in right there. Boom. So it's 9:30 right now. Okay, so now this is where it's like, are we going to continue going up? Or is this going to be the double top on the half hour and it's going to pull back? And don't trade double tops, please. You know, this is the argument. Well, it is contextual. This double top here on the half hour chart, would you sell there? Gee, I don't know. You know, I'm going to say no, because the vacuum above's too looming, way too looming. I'd rather run a trailing stop. I'd rather protect my longs, or even put a hedge on. So here we're popping the cork here. I'm looking by 10 o'clock, and if we come screaming into tomorrow, this may be the low of the week that we put in like a half a day early. Another reason why the 12-hour chart. So the people that are building these algos, they should take it to the 12-hour chart. If they're not getting enough signals, just bring it to the 12-hour chart, man. If you put an RSI in the 12-hour chart closing price as opposed to the daily, you'd be like, why aren't I in the 12-hour chart? At least for one ticket. The all-or-nothing thinking of, I'm not going to take that trade because my rule is... Oh my God, get out of here. I'm only going to paint one painting. I've got a big giant easel. You should. I'm going to do a mural. Yeah, I got this big mural canvas. What are you going to paint? I'm not sure yet, but when I do it, I'm just going to paint one painting. Put a big price tag on it. Probably a good idea, right? Because one of a kind. Now, trading's a whole fucking bunch of, you know, clicking or moving your stop or getting the fuck out or going, Jesus, don't even get me in that. I mean, the news is coming out. I don't have any news scripts. I'm not prepared to trade the news. You gotta see this guy Hilton trade with no stops. Like 400 standard lots, no stops. Wow, dude. On 2 tickets, 200 standard lot trades. He's down $1,800 right out of the gate. Pax Forex. He's trading the real money. $150,000 account. But he's not, the news ain't coming out. Trust me, he's not doing this during the news. But he's trading his real money. People say, is that real money? I'm like, why not? The guy's a fucking ex-con. The guy's a burglar. So, or he was wanted for robbery or something. Stealing. So yeah, if you, I'm not saying I'm a thief. You have to be a thief to trade, but you got to be a little bit like, I don't give a fuck. You got to be a little sociopathic. Okay, so what else? We're waiting. I'm waiting to get rich here on this fucking yen. I miss trading the yen. I'm not trading the euro now because I'm trading the yen. So I can't. I could look. I looked at the euro earlier, and the British pound that I said was going to go up. It went up to 50. It went up those pips, last night. I didn't trade it. So this is my so-called call here last night. See, you can see where I did trade it though. Now these limits, I don't know if I got stopped out. I don't know if this was a hedge. But the idea here would have been, let's go to the 4-hour chart and be realistic. I did say last night that this is the line of scrimmage and that we're trapped under the floor and we're in an unfair value under the floor. And I'm bullish, so I would always say buy anyways. So maybe it's not fair. But I did say, and here, if these tickets would have lasted all week or all month, this is 1 week from here to here. So what I'm saying is, why aren't people just buying because it's low? Because they need some indicator to tell them to get in here. Why do you need that? If you put tickets here all month long and you're like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy this 50 pip area. And I'm going to make me 50 pips and 70 pips and almost 100 pips. I'm going to put a stop in down here. I'm going to buy this area. Now, that's not the best ratio. But I didn't want to say something like, we're going to buy here. We would have bought here too. We have another backup plan, which is we buy here also. We're disappointed they didn't take it here, but we're definitely loving the fact that the deepest vacuum on here is here. And then they filled us. And we maybe scalped to the floor, which people did. Then we get zigzags. People are putting on hedges. People are accumulating under the floor. And I also said in another video that this low here carried forward, there's actually a vacuum underneath that wick. So it's very insanely oversold, unfair. If unfair is oversold, then don't tell me Forex doesn't go overbought and oversold or unfair and fair. Don't tell me the market doesn't go up and down. No nonsense is literally got to be trolling people's fucking logic brain. I mean, are you kidding me? What fucking planet is this guy on? He doesn't want, I guarantee you, he doesn't even fucking watch the markets. At the end of the day, he's like, oh, okay, I got a signal, okay, bye. Does he see what's going on here? This drama? Look at those cells up there. Those could have been hedges. See, there's proof in the pudding. I put those fucking tickets in, see? This is my journal. Did I do what I was supposed to do? Look at how wonderful this 25 pip window is. That you could buy into that. And another void, just almost a void underneath look at that. Look at this thing rip 100 pips in 8 hours. Are you kidding me? That's the trade. Okay, that is the trade. Stop hunt the wick at the 100 double bottom. That's beautiful. You didn't even have to know the direction. You could have sold here with a hedge. You see all these people's trades? You see all the trades you missed. That's all I'm saying. Let's not miss the next one. Let's put a hedge on here. Just put a hedge on. Just see what happens. Or buy at the market with a stop. Or here's another option. Just put limits in down here and walk away. Put limits in here and walk away. Come back, see what happens. If you get scared and you're up on a few and you haven't filled the other ones, just get the fuck out and go, whew, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I just put fucking tickets in the market without an indicator. Without stalking it. I've done all that shit, man. I've stalked it. You know, I'm tired. I'm old. I don't stalk a fucking thing. Just put out the booze and let them show up. You see this top? You see this top? What more do you need to know? Oh, I can't believe you're selling up into that. What if they stop you out? Dude, they're going to stop you out. If you put in a 5 pip stop, yeah. They'll take out like a zipper. And then you'll just watch it come back and go, fuck. I should have made that a swing trade. I've seen enough moving averages to know that this is like the 20 EMA here, and then it catches wind of this giant, insane sell-off. We don't trade reversals. I don't think you understand the VP way. We're going to take you to the correction chambers. Okay. It is hard to believe that the markets are just up and down like this, and just people are trying to find some way to quantify it and just say, oh, when it's just so amazing the way it is. Look at this bottom. 12-hour vacuum. You come back to the 50-yard line, boop, see ya. Stop out the bulls. But why can't you buy that? Who says you can't buy the stop hunt? Who are these people? Okay, let me go to the half-hour chart. So we're making some headway here. I want to see what I wanted to happen last night that didn't happen. So one thing I can tell you, I know once you see how eager you are and how you can see the thing coming, you realize you're a day ahead. This is when you're like, oh, this is the buy. You can only buy a little bit based on that, because the next day is going to be the real buy. If you know yourself and the way you over anticipate it, which I do. So if I see that where the thing's going, I'm just going to, all right, so I'm just going to bail. I'm like, I can see the end of this story. So 80% through, I'll just be like, so I decided, well, I'll just get in incrementally and get out maybe in a, like I did last night, accumulate and then dump. That's the most refreshing trade, is that you build it and then it goes to the target and you dump the whole fucking thing. You scale out a little bit into that, but when you get to the top, you may even take off everything that's open. So if I would have done that years ago, just closed all open and pendings, but I'm a little stubborn. So I'm going to hold on saying, okay, let the trade plans play out, and whatever's still left on the table, if it drifts in, I can make a few more pips. And then when I wrote the tight stops and I said, I can chase it, I can chase it, I can do it, I'll go click, 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 and I love that, but you've got to really not force that. And in Asia right now, the market can take off like a rocket into the top of the hour, but then, wow, you better have scalped something. Every time you get that big blast in your favor, and of course, if it's against you, you're stopped out, but maybe you're capturing on limits then. You can't trade in one direction, or you could do the non-directional trading, because that's both directions for me. So that's my exit into selling more. Some guy said, I had a video out there from two years ago that goes, why don't you just sell? Well, I don't really, not good at selling because I built this whole structure around accumulating catching a falling knife, so to speak, instead of stopping a rising balloon. But I could do the same that. It's just psychologically disorientating to think about, well, this is gonna crush up. It's got to go up before I can sell it. And if I think it's going sideways and about to collapse, I should run sell stops into that. I could actually do that easier than selling at the market. Selling at the market, only because I'm so used to trading stocks where I'm making money on the long side. And that's the only reason why people that do trade stocks have a hard time trading Forex, because they want everything to go up. But there's no bear markets in Forex, so if you don't like that, just go trade another currency pair that's in the phase of going up. And if you're really good at, here we go, so I'm going to buy, I'm going to chase this a little bit. So if you're really good at identifying what's going on in the here and now, and you can jump on and take advantage of it, and you're also able to place traps and let the market come to you on limits, or even let it confirm on a explosion breakout. But if you think it's going to go up, just fucking get in. And then just you're getting in so tiny that you're testing your ego, and you're barely testing your wallet. You're saying, am I good at chasing this shit? Or am I wanting it to go up, so I buy thinking that it could go up any minute? Because as it's going up, you have to judge, oh my God, like, fuck. Oh, I don't want to chase this thing. But then you're like, oh, I'll chase it a little bit. So it's okay to do everything a little bit. The all or nothing thinking, I think, comes from like, dude, I bought this car. You should see it. You have one car that's high end. Or you're a collector, which apparently I'm a collector because I've got a bunch of cars in here, a bunch of different things running simultaneously. I'm almost to $700 a margin. So I'm putting in like 40 pip take profits now. I'm going to put in the 10 pip take profits. Now I'm going to cut back. And I'm pressing the button, not on my screen, but you can see the margin going up here. So I'm on the tablet, and I have the copy of the thing on the laptop. I'm still on the laptop. I'm still off the grid. Okay, $702 a margin. So I'm just going to let this go, and it should be cashing out. And I really don't want to add, but I do want to get to $3,000 so fucking bad. So another thing is that I can see in Asia, I'm like, oh, here we go. And I'm like, I love piling in when I'm already long on limits. And I love to see how much money I can make from pure limits. So I did that one video, one account, I said pure limits this time. No market orders, and did pretty good. Once again, I had no money management trailing me with a protection stop. So the only way to really milk that account was to, it goes, you say you ride this into, this rallies, and then when London opens, just get the fuck out, because it could just completely turn on a dime, especially if it's coming into that auction sell window on a rooftop that goes back 21 bars or 49 bars. And when these markets could go crazy, I mean, I'll say if palladium's making new highs and gold's going to chase it, and then everything chimes in, Bitcoin's competing as a liquidity pool because it's open on the weekends, and people, as long as the Bitcoin treads water at $10,000, people would be like, $10,000, look at this fucking thing. The longer it treads water, the safer people feel about that as being a true exchange, not a investment, not a tool to swing trade, but just like gold, when gold was dead in the water at like 1,000, 1,100, I mean, people were like, okay, that went on for 3 years, and I kind of said that after that big run up, that it's going to torture everybody that thinks we're all the bull ponies that think you're going to go to like $10,000. I mean, it's funny that Bitcoin costs more than gold, but not really. It's just a secure ledger. All the banks doing is keeping a ledger of your shit. So, but I don't know if the banks are worth that much, per thing. But you can go to an ATM around here that's got Bitcoins in it, so it's not impossible to. It's like coupons. So I'm not going to buy any more here and let this go up. I see they just cashed me out of like 3K here. I'm down to 696 of margin. But I want to get to 3,000. It's pretty bad. And we loaded the wagon on hedges last night, but I didn't write the market hedges yet. And so I want to create a whole hedge folder that's just market hedges, limit hedges, because it's going to have 2 limits with tight stops. And it's going to get in shallow to go the other way. And I'll just have those 3, and I'll just be like, okay, I think I'm just going to do the stop entry a little bit. And as it stacks up, the market goes sideways. Maybe I'll think, let me go with the hedges on stop entry, couple with the market, a couple on limits. And if I was to really care, I would make sure in the comments of those scripts it said hedge at the market, hedge, and call out the stops, trade 3 versions exclusively. Maybe there's 6K on each trigger pull, 6K at the market with different stops and different take profits. Always better to pull the trigger and pull it because it's the end of 4 hours, at the end of an hour, and it's like, okay, I'm getting a signal. Market's going sideways, and hurry up and pull it before the market moves. When the market starts to move, I just don't think I certainly wouldn't want to buy at the market with a hedge at the market with 2 tight stops, because at that point I'm thinking, let's go the turtle trader's way and put a buy stop, sell stop. If it's really going up really hard, it's only going to fill on the long side. And always running a trailing buy limit. When the market starts to go up, the first thing I'm thinking is, if I'm not in, and even if I'm in, if I'm not in big, I'm going to say, let's start running trailing buy limits. Let's pick up any kind of pullback we can get on this thing. And that makes you feel really safe, because now you're barely in, but you can't wait to get in on any kind of pullback. You don't need a signal for that. When the price comes back in your ticket, that's the signal. You got filled. So that was a cool thing about FXCM, is that it had a bell that went off when you got filled. So I thought, you have a pending in there. Instead of having a trend line alarm, you had a ticket, and it went bing. And maybe these you can have those set up like that. Okay, I'm at $150 is my target, so I make it to 3,000 here. I need to see this thing take out that top from that lonely wick at the top of the half-hour chart. Now I'm going to go to the looks like the British pound's pulling back. You might get, but I can't focus on that. I want to bring all my guns into one instrument. I mean, I guess the dollar yen, maybe it's because of the girls, but I think the dollar yen is so bombastic. It's absolutely psychotic. So the 1 hour wick I'm talking about is on the 30-minute chart here. Okay, so we just punched that out, but I want to see them punch to here and here, and then I'm going to automatically get out, like I said last night. But that was this move. But look how psychotic this is getting. It's getting crazy. So $160 to go here to make it to $3 grand. And then I could go flat, but I'm not. I don't want to trade my equity. I want to get the $4,000, so I want to double the account, right? So I just like, I don't have any other pendings. I don't think in any other currencies. That's what really pisses me off is if all of a sudden I see something change here in the margins and the equity, and I'm like, why? And in the background I got this dumb shit. I'm actually still in this damn dollar. I'm still in the yen. I'm still in the euro. Look at this. So here's a funny trade. I'm barely holding on to my euro position that I was said about last night that I didn't care. And I really didn't. It was only like a $4 risk in the background of everything I'm doing. And look at this silly trade. I survived without getting stopped out. Look at me. And look at my exit, and the trader Nick guy, so cute. He's like, I'm sticking to my plan, and I know I should have got the fuck out here, but so, and this is just a completely random. This is just a hardwired script. Good ratio. Kind of destroyed these though, like these. Oh no, I dropped that. Just dropped that recently. These tickets don't show when these got in because I deleted the arrows. So this is another thing. If you have to do a screen capture of that, if you're really going to be very, like I said, if you had some kids, if you had a family, if you had some kids that you were wanted to give them a job, here, press this button and screen capture it for me. Or screen capture all my trades or something. But it only works on your screen, so you can't have the history those guys were arguing about. Well, do I run the EA or do I actually do manual trading? Well, here I'm doing walk forward journal of the drops, and the arrows are indicating when I drop. It does not show you how long those lasted, though. And it does not show you whether they got stopped out. Well, it kind of does if you look at the red dashes, but some of them are overlapped with the arrows. So it's not really true. But it does show you that you dropped them in front of the market, above or below, into the hole that you perceived was available. So right now we got a hole forming here. And last night I said you could have put a hedge on here in the euro. Now you would have got a little bit trapped on the south side, and I said I think it's going to go up, just like the British pound. We only went up 25 pips here, where the British pound was able to go up quite a bit more. So which is good, right? I mean, here this is 50 pips for every 25 pips on the euro dollar. So when people shift gears, and they say, well, I'm really good at trading the euro, I think I'm going to go trade the pound. Well, watch out. Spread's wider and it moves twice as much. And it costs more. It uses more margin because it's more expensive currency. Dollar yen, though. Look at this thing. So I'm going to let that go tonight, and then if it starts cashing out, I'm going to come in. Here's where the difficult part is. Say we get to here and I'm only in $400 a margin. I guarantee you if I'm only $400 a margin here, I'm going to start running buy limits very close. 15-minute 1 hours. I'm going to break out the single bank and start dropping the singles. I don't want to do it quite yet. I want the market to get up here, and then I'm going to run a whole slew of those. Okay, so I'm going to go watch an old movie, I think. I'm just going to go watch some stupid movie here. Let this thing churn. Maybe get to $3,200. I suspect if I get to here, I'll be at $3,200 if I can get to this wick. So maybe get a little bit above my target, dollar-wise. So at that point, you could also at that point say, well, you know what, I'm just going to trade light now, and just make a couple $100 here and there. The last thing you want to do is go, well, let's really fucking trade this. That was good, because unless you've done the math, and I have a vague estimation of what I'm risking. I figure it's going to be $2 a click and $10 a click if I'm dropping a 3K array, and certainly $20 a click on a a 3K array with a master stop that's 100 pips deep. Because that first ticket's going to take 175 pip stop, 150 pip, 125 pip stop, 100 pip stop, a 4K, 25 pips apart. But those are set it and forget it. Swing trades that are if you got enough money in the account, you know, you're going to make $20 on that trade, and you might make 40 or 60 bucks depending on how many of those you drop, and are they interlaced, are they staggered, are they in a different currency? Do you feel comfortable getting filled and stuff in the background and going, what the fuck is going on with my, and you might just be making money, but then of course it's, like I said, it's disorientating because now you're trying to say, God, I kind of like know where I'm at. You know, I'm driving on this road and I see the market's going up. How come I'm not making money? I should be making money on this thing. Also, if you just trade one instrument, it allows you to sell into this rally on something if you're planning ahead to capture a few tickets. But why would you do that if you're in super big? You're waiting to cash out on your longs, which are sells. You're going flat. So that's the third position in the market. You're either long, short, or flat. And when you're flat, it is time. I mean, when the market pauses, it's okay to, the market's telling you, I'm paused, come on in, water's safe. And when the market's ripping, either it's blown you out or you've taken profits. Hopefully, I just don't think you want the slippage of, because right now, if it goes any faster up than this, there's no fucking way I'm buying it. I don't care how much money's in the account. If I'm not in big enough now, I fucked up. You just have to take it. Or start running, if you're not in now, start running the sell limits above you. And run maybe sell trailing sell stops right now, every hour. You'll get picked up a few tickets and you'll see, well, that's kind of stupid to just, that's not going to work because it's going to get up there and drift around, chop, and there's going to be the initial sell fills will be trap trades. Of course. After an explosion, it's going to go drifty. 80% of the market's chop and noise. Evident here, obviously. I know people don't want to think this, but I should delete these objects. It looks like the price, but look at 80% here, 20% moving. 80%. I'm sure it's the same in the stock market. Okay, so let this thing ride out, and then hopefully we can get the account up to about $4 grand by the end of the week. I'm asking to make another grand in 2 days. Well, you have to stay on top of it. Okay, look at so boom, we just hit the 10 o'clock, top of the hour. Am I selling this because it's up? Well, I'm actually going to cash out any moment. On the 4-hour chart, how does it look? And then, of course, then we have the one on this chart. It'll be 1 a.m. We can check it around 1 a.m. We can go flat. We could actually, what I did last night, I got on so much margin. I only had like $10 of margin on the table. I bought like a $60 of margin as it kind of drifted back, and then I threw limits in. So here tonight, you could, when the market goes sideways. In other words, when it goes up, cash out, I can still go flat and then go into a non-directional hedge. So after a big move, sure, even here I could do a non-directional hedge, maybe at the top of this, but I don't think I want to, if I sell at the market, I'm just going to sell one. You know, unfortunately, I have the big picture in my mind. And it works against you to have the big picture because you're like, oh, but when it gets up here, but it has to take a detour before it gets up there. I got to get out this navigator thing here. I'm going to use my fancy, is it Control N? There. Control N brings up navigator. So let me delete objects here because it's bugging me, those lines. Now when you look at the forward chart, you just have a different, you know, you can't see the drama that was on that 1 hour, this big rally up. This is just an amazing move. Stop under those bears of death. But, you know, it's just a limit trader's entry dream that it comes back and and you're the stop hunter. So a big rally here on the 1 hour chart, and yeah, we could go flat here. We'd be $200 shy of our target, but I'm gonna let it go because the volatility is so high right now that I'm almost want to buy on limits right now, honestly. So I'm gonna put limits here. I think I could handle another $100 of margin. So what I'm going to do here is put in really long-lasting 8 hours, super aggressive 8 hours of 4K there. Then I'm going to come in with these singles, which I'm able to put in really super tight, like 3 pips deep here. 10 pips stop to make 25 pips a half hour, 3 pips deep. So I'm just going to go berserk here. I think I did this last night before I went to sleep. And then these are all 1Ks. I wrote all these fuckers insane. I mean, just nutty. I started to space them pretty little wide by the bottom here, so I'm not going to be able to utilize that whole thing there, but I'm just going to stack these in. So here, let me get these. I'm like, oh, see it double click too fast. Here's 11 pips, 8 hours. 15 pips stop to make 25. So I wrote these on the tablet. This is harebrained shit, like 12 pips stop to make 16. I try to make them as diverse as possible. There's no rhyme or reason here other than pretty good ratios, risk 15 to make 40, then some break-even bullshit here. 5 pips deep with a 10 pip stop to make 10 pips. Half hour. It's fun. Some of these will fill. All we have to do is have this come ripping back. When some news comes out of Australia, it affects other markets, affects the yen. So it can be quite a backlash here. I can do the 20 pip stop to make 40. 4 pips deep, 15 minutes. But I don't have a lot. I have 1 4 hour. So when you're clicking through this, be careful because this is a 4 hour script. That's why I started building the 4 hour, 8 hour, 12 hour. So the folder is done by time. How long did they last? That's the most important thing, other than how far away from the market they are. They're both really important, but the first thing is, it's one thing to put in order in the last 15 minutes and it's going to be 20 pips deep than one that's going to last a month and it's 5 pips deep. So that is the crux of the limit entry being, that is the most critical thing. The stops are also critical too. And so that these are all individual trade plans, so to speak. And, you can just download it and have your way with it. I just would caution you that you can get carried away. You can find yourself in 500K just dicking around with these. It just means you click 500 times, which to me is no big deal. I can play guitar. I've strummed the guitar over 500 times, I'm sure. I mean, I don't know, strummed, but picked strings. Like in a song, how many times you just pick the strings? Okay, 200 picks. I don't know. I don't think it's high effort trading. I don't think it's a high effort thing. And that's why it's good if you're not physically strong. You want to make money with your brain, you can't. You don't have the strength or something. So, it's a big chess game here. It's more like shuffleboard, I figure. And I don't have the patience to wait for one ticket to fill, so this is also my workaround for being impatient. So I'm trying to put all the cures in here. If you're missing out, I've got market orders that will get me in with a tight stop, with a wide stop. I can get a 2 or 10K, 10 clicks with stops that range from 5 to 50. I usually don't go back past 50 because I usually have a limit 70 pips deep. So I'm like, you know what? If it's going down there, if we're going down that hole, like I don't know if I want to trade with a 100 pip stop necessarily, unless I pull that trigger just once, and maybe it's on a different tablet. That's why tablets are so cheap. I can get a tablet for $100 that's unfucking believable. So get a tablet for $100, put $500 in the account, and have that. Don't even just barely trade that. Get another tablet. You got like 5 tablets, you know. I mean, if you're really going to do all these different currency pairs, get 28 tablets, because how people keep track of these pairs, I just don't get it. You know, to have that many screens up, I mean, at some point you just have to say, dude, you need a team of people. These are single traders doing this. I guess they are the there are trading partners that go looking at all these charts and try to tackle them. But people have, you know, they have opinions. They have biases because they have their algo that's giving them the direction. Most trading courses will say to you, well, let's find a direction, people. You're going to trade with a trend, aren't you? You ain't one of those queers, is you? Son, come here. You got to meet some girls. I mean, what? Yeah, I guess heteros, trend trading for heteros. But it is funny because you can see there's this kind of, and then there's the old, let's be polite here. Everybody's opinion matters. No, he's fucking full of shit. Fuck him. Somebody shut this guy up. You know, the market's always right. That's what they say. So that's what I'm betting on. Let the market prove me right. Anyways, structurally speaking, the ultimate target here is going to be this wick. Looking back here, we've fallen through this floor. Of course, it kind of is negated because we've already punched through. So I'm gonna delete that. That's not fair to say that. I'm gonna say let's delete that. To stay to our strict standard of how we go back to the vacuums that have already been filled and killed. And it's like, you know what, this all that matters is this now. This, we've stepped into this window. We stop hunted this goober. We stop hunted this bull. And what's going to happen here? Do we keep making new highs? Do we never come down here? Is this your stop now? I'd say the most dangerous trade would be to put a buy stop here and put your protection here. You should have put your buy stop here and your protection here. It's a lot less riskier range. You could wait for 2 bars to break out on the on this chart, the 4-hour chart. And the 4-hour again. No, 1-hour chart. Sorry. That wouldn't matter. You see how it wouldn't matter? Here it's way more work. So at the 4-hour, this is a small bar on the 4. Let me go to the 4-hour. So in jumping time frames doesn't help. So I don't know why you're jumping time frames. Man, just stick on a time frame, would you? Here's last night's hedge entry. Glorious expansion and volatility from, well, strictly speaking, from here. Kind of a trap to the long side, but here was your clue hint that we knew that was very important, and we still could have sold because we're going up. If you see what I mean, if we sold because we're going up, that's important, right? Just these subtle rallies, and of course, this is a failed bottom become a top. This bottom is supposed to become a top here, and it was supposed to keep tanking, and that's why I say this. This is the auction window. New lows, takes out the lows from last Sunday, then rips north. Then it takes out these, so it's a stop hunt for everybody. I'm going to take these guys out, take those guys out. Then bam, down. Here comes the buyers. I'm one of them. I'm loading up into that. Let me get my other chart on here. I got to go to my table now. Okay, so we're grinding up on the half hour. I'm not going to add to this. And I've just cashed out of something because my margin requirement just went down. So I'm within $80 of my $85 of my target. 3,000. So I'm gonna let that play out. It's tempting to buy there, but like I said, you got to consider sticking to your plan there. And this is the 4-hour chart. So once we get to here, I should be out of stuff. And a lot of people are going to sell there, and we should see a reaction at that price. Also, this price and this price, that's all that matters. This is gone. That don't matter anymore. That's been tripped. This matters, and this matters, and all that, and all that. Okay, so a nice possible by the bottom of the hour. We got 17 minutes to go, and we could conceivably in 17 minutes be at 3,000. I like to try to guess how long it's going to take too, and it's easier to guess when you just have one instrument that's engaged. I still have that dollar, that euro dollar running in the background here, which is starting to tank. So is the dollar CAD. You gotta love that dollar yen. So very, very vicious. Really is brutal. But that's great for the breakout traders because it's a good breakout trader thing. Also, that euro to the pound, which I haven't looked at in a while, that can be vicious too. I can just spaz out in one direction. Okay, I'm almost at $3,000 here. So $30 from $25 away. Like I said, 3,200 by here. I'm gonna guess if we can make it to this inverted hammer top, we should be at 3,200. It's only about 10 pips away. So just looking to make $200 from here to here. Or I could cash out right now and go, you know what, you're just so fucking greedy. And that's possible too. But then if that's the case, I'm going to come right in with limits 3 pips deep. There's no other answer. There's no other way around this. This game for me, there's no other way. Asia has a certain thing you need to do. And when Europe opens, yeah, there's a thing you got to do there. You just got to be like, wow. If the market takes off psychotically, it could still back up psychotically. So when the volatility kicks up, you got to trade super wide and super light. You really got to trade for conditions. Okay, it looks like we just kind of took a little breath here. On the half-hour chart, though, we're coming up into this critical window here. Damn it, I know I had I thought I had a rectangle here. Oh, here it is. Oh. So the broker doesn't want you to make money, so they don't have the rectangle in here. We all know that's the key. Must insert rectangle. Okay. So I'm looking at this window right here. Big cash out window, big high drama window because of these. This shelf on that half hour. And of course, anything beyond there would be just wonderful. And I would just let it go. I won't add to it. I will start running. When my margin gets to 400, like I said, if I get to 400, I'm kind of estimating that if we get that blue window, the margin will be 400. Then I start dropping shallow buy limits very close to the market. 311. I'm not going to go too deep because I don't want to have orders that are like so ridiculous. It's like they might fill when the news comes out, if there's news coming out tomorrow, or if there's some kind of news that's going to come out of even the British pound. I mean, all the markets kind of get a little rocky when one market gets rocky. And if they're not, the fact that it's going sideways means it's going to get rocky, and it's your chance to get into a nice hedge. If everything else is going berserk and you're staring at something that's not, it's going to probably join the berserkness, and everything else might calm down. Who knows? Like the guy said in Discord, who knows? Anyways, that's the plan. So it's drifting up now. I just want to see it hit 3,000 even if I don't cash out there. So we're going up. I'm being hindered by this. Why am I getting killed here a little bit? I'm in something else in the background. It's making new highs. But I'm not making it to 3,000, so I don't know what else I got on the platform. Let me take a look. So yeah, I wrote everything as a 1K. What can I tell you? It must be something that's losing. It should be all dollar yen in here. No, about to take profits here though. So I don't know. It's kind of weird. I guess the spread got wide maybe. So that happens too. The spread gets wide and you're like, why is my equity going down? What the fuck? Yeah, everything that's pending. So see, these are flashing because they're about to fill. So if we do by price, here's duplicate prices. So if you're really going to be picky, you're going to delete the duplicate prices. This is 1 pip at different entry. And then you can watch these flash. As you get within 10 pips of fill, they start to flash. So, anyways, that's what I'm doing tonight. It's boring to sit here and wait for it to happen. So if it happens, it happens. Whatever. Like I said, 3,200 by that window. Then I start coming with limits again. If it retests to here, then I want to get in here, hand placed, or just a stream. I'm really not going to hand place a ticket because I'm not going to line up a 10K down here, which would you really have to put a 10K here and maybe a 10K here. I decided long ago that I would just double click a 3K instead of trading a 3K on one ticket to just save myself the equity swings and the punishment, and you know, I just don't need all that volatility and the equity. I don't see the equity go up and down like that. Another thing is maybe I cashed out and it pulled back. So when it went back up there, I wasn't making as much money because, and that's probably because it just trimmed off a little bit there. I haven't moved any of my take profits or my stops here, and that's why now that I'm trading with the hedge, I could put a hedge on here. I could put the hedge on here, or I could just sell at the market a little bit with some kind of target and stop. Everything has a target and stop, but I could put a non-directional hedge on here and say, you know what, if it pulls back, I'm going to get stopped into a short, and it's going to cover and reduce the drawdown and hold the account in a steadier position. And if it does keep going up, then I'm just adding by default. I mean, without me having to make that choice of, gosh, should I chase it? Well, you've already decided up front that if it goes up higher, if it goes up 8.5 pips or 3 pips, that you're going to just buy. So these are all just tons of micro decisions that add up to just like all the decisions you would make driving down the road. Am I going to make a lane change? The guy in front of me is an asshole. Somebody's behind me is tailgating. What is with these people tailgating me? I'm doing 80 miles an hour. Leave me the fuck alone. These people are like, they want to go 90. I'm like, dude, you got to, I'm going to get a Gatling gun, a potato gun, and I'm going to launch it into your fucking face. These motherfuckers. Or I'm going to just start throwing tacks out. Little pieces of metal, shrapnel, for your tires to go over, like James Bond, chew up your tires. So it's just one of these dramas. On the daily, Like I said, on the weekly it looks wonderful. On the daily it's pulling back. On the weekly it looks amazing. Pull back, drifting back for the big launch up. I think we're done going down. I remember that time that I'll never forget this. A guy named Edge, and he says, so I said I'm buying right here. He goes, I bet you're just gonna buy down there like crazy. And then he goes, and he did this video where he railed at me, and he says, yeah, sure, it went up. Yeah, it was gonna turn around and everything. And I'm like, yeah, well, that's my point. That you're buying down here like you can't fucking believe for this, and then you dump, and then you come back on the drifts with the and this is probably I guarantee you this is a 3-period RSI divergence down here. Beautiful. That is a 1-2-period divergence. 0 is this. Amazing. Amazing. It's just I mean, and look at this currency pair. The nice thing about where we're at right now in the time series of this currency pair is that on the monthly, you're really at these amazing, outlandish historical levels. Almost like you're putting in a big bottom here, or you're going to come to this and it's going to keep tanking. Like this bottom is the top it's going to come into on the monthly. It's a giant wedge. Something's going to give over here. It's going to be that crypto, North Korean crypto. Anyways, once again, we're within $40 of my target. Once I'm ready to leave, they suck me right back in. They make me watch the market. Another thing that bankers do is they play this game where they let you win a little bit, and they make you feel hopeful, and then they pull it all away from you. Just go ask no nonsense. Oh, sure, they'll let you have your MACD crossover and your divergence for just a little bit. But what Cardwell will tell you is that the divergence is the detour. The divergence says get ready for that to fail and double up in the other direction. So you also have to have that Bill Williams where you double up. That's the hardest thing to do, is say, I'm wrong and I'm going to double up in the other direction. That is mentally brutal, especially if you're not liking the fact that you made the wrong decision in the first place. You're really going to change your mind right now? So that, in commodities, I would never do it because the commissions would just be brutal. And then I'd be mentally whipsawed. I couldn't do it. I just too petrified. I really didn't like the idea that it costs $45 round turn with a discount broker. That's including all exchange fees. And I was paying $280 a month for a satellite dish to have my data 10 or 15 minutes ahead of the public, the goobers. But I was just a complete goober because I have a 15-minute edge, I didn't really think about placing a buy limit at that time. You know, if I would have placed buy limits in these vacuum pockets, I'd be like, I don't need fucking 15 minutes to let... I would be on the daily chart and I'd be buying the new low. I'd just be like, I have a limit here and a limit there with a stop there and a stop there and take profit there. And I was just literally walking in. Every trade was at the market. Because at that time I'd studied quite extensively. Spent like $20,000 in seminars with, went and trained with 5 top rated traders, went to their 3-day symposium, got a hotel room. Alexander Alger, Cardwell, Mark Douglas, Van Tharp. And then like a big symposium with all these people. There was this Tom Basso showed up, who was this fund manager who had made a bunch of money in silver and in crude oil, and then he blew it all up, and he lost like him and his wife lost like $5 million. Because they were super long crude, and then it was limit down $10 after Desert Storm, and they got destroyed. So his answer was to trade, just like my answer is to trade one case, his answer was to trade so small that no volatility could ever hurt him. So tons of money, really just super safe trading. Tom Basso. And so he was the guest speaker there, and I had lunch with him, and I was like, oh, the guy's just like a guy. He's a dude. There's nothing special about this guy. Super mellow. And so people are like, dude, what's your secret? He goes, you need space. You need a big. So he has a big office, and he paces around and he talks to clients about how much money they're losing. So everybody finds a workaround. So you might have some quirk where you need to be like, you can only trade at the titty bar. Who knows? If that's your method, your edge. That's your edge. Yeah, I go to the exotic dancing bar with my tablet, see? Can you imagine? Yeah, well, it's just I do my best. It's my edge. What's your edge? Gotta have an edge in trading. I like that. The guy that was ripping me was named Edge. But then we ripped him. It was brutal. Another Discord debacle. Never go full Discord. So, anyways, that's where I'm at with this as it drifts up. They just keep. They know that I know that they know that I can't get this account to $3,000, and the bankers just keep going. You know, we know this guy's out there, and we're just not going to let him have it. Oh, he thinks they will, but we're just going to keep manipulating the price and little baby moves now. See what we're doing to those retail guys? Yeah, we're going to fuck their heads up. Wait till we get done with them today. We're going to run the market up and down against them. Oh, yeah. How many movies did No Nonsense see? Like, is he trapped in... It's too much. Some guy is... Why are you hating on No Nonsense? Because he's everything I hate about people that don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Anybody that is pompous... See, I'm kind of modest. To call myself simpleton. He's vice president. I'm VP. Hey, listen. Dude. Don't even ask me that. Please. Don't you have a click mouse? Go look at my videos before you ask me a stupid question like that. Please go refer to my videos that I've published. By the way, I have 118,000 subscribers. And everybody in the comments sections, hugs and kisses. Maybe I'm cynical. Maybe I'm pissed. I don't know. It's just cringe beyond. It's cringing from the inside out, I feel like. Reverse cringe. I told you we don't trade reversals. Now, we leave that to the experts. You know, the funny thing about No Nonsense, he makes ICT look like the guru of all guru. Like, ICT is getting 10 stars and No Nonsense gets 2. It's just incredible that, I guess, you know, right? Like, get the algos going, and now was that 7 bars back or 6? God damn it! Just get in the market. You're missing all these trades. I like the guy that said, "You're missing all. Can't you see?" I look back at the chart and I'm like, "What the fuck am I running this algo for anyhow?" Anywho. I just am so entertained. Okay. I'm waiting for Europe. Europe's going to make me rich. I just know it. We'll see how tomorrow goes.